Well, I never thought I would end up doing a commentary on one of my own games. Hello, everybody. Welcome to I'll Survive, a game that I have been working on for the best part of a year with Jack Longmore, longydev.com. And this is it. What on earth is it about? Well, you've got a little bit of storyline that's scrolling in front of you at the moment, our opening crawl. It's all about this guy called Glenn, who you can see on the screen now. Now Glenn works at the last human-run store in a place called Mech City. It's the near future, and basically there's been an AI revolution. Robots run all the supermarkets, except for this one store, Jade's store, which operates on a skeleton staff. There's hardly anybody working there because all the humans have gone. Glenn pretty much runs the entire shop on his own. And at the start of the game, he realizes, you know what, this is just too stressful. It's too hard. I quit. He decides to leave the job. However, his boss is quite a tough cookie. And she says to him, well, you can quit, but if you don't work your notice, if you don't finish the week, I'm going to ruin you. You'll never work again. And that's pretty much where the game begins, where you have to get through the 5 remaining shifts and get to a point where you can play through all 5 in one go without failing. And if you do fail, upgrade, go back and try again. That's the roguelite element of this. I've been quite boldly saying to people that we've created a brand new genre with this game. It's a retail roguelite, and hey, you know what? If Hideo Kojima can do that, then so can I. I remember when he released the game Death Stranding, I think it was in 2020, he said that he'd invented a brand new genre. He said it's a strand game because there's a particular game feature in there that involves strands. And I think, hey, Hideo Kojima knows a thing or two. If he can say he's created a brand new genre, so can I. So here we are. Welcome to the world's first retail roguelite, a brand new genre. Why on earth did I decide to make this? I think, like novels, everyone has a novel inside them. I think everyone has a video game inside them as well, and this is the one that has manifested inside my soul. I suppose it is a creative piece. It's a work of art that is designed to satisfy me first and foremost, like most creative pieces. But video game production, very, very expensive, as I discovered with this. So, of course, having a target audience and a customer is crucial if you're going to optimize it and stand to make any money back at all. So, the honest answer to the question of why make it and who is it for is I wanted to make a game that the children that I live and work with would want to play. So, a bit of context for that. I live and work in a boarding school. I live with the junior boys aged between 11 and 14, and I wanted to make a game that they would want to pick up and enjoy playing. So most of the creative decisions that I've made all the way along throughout the production of I'll Survive were based on what I thought the kids would like. So in our boarding house, the most popular games are EA Sports FC, or FIFA, I suppose, as some people still call it, Smash Brothers, Hollow Knight, Silksong, and Enter the Gungeon. And right at the very beginning of the process, I actually pitched 2 different games to the children. I had an idea for an unusual, different type of football game, and I had the idea for the shop game, and I just basically said to a big number of them, which one would you rather play? And they all unanimously said the shop game. So I set off with that in mind. Now, I talk about creative works. This isn't entirely plucked from the dark recesses of my imagination. I'll Survive is actually based on an actual job I used to do. Back in my early 20s, I was in this very unusual situation where I was running a shop on my own, as you see Glenn doing. So there was a person on the till, and there was me doing everything else. And it was a shop about this size, and actually the game map is based on the actual layout of the shop that I used to work at. So it is a bit of a ridiculous situation, and I'm not going to unpack the morality behind the decisions that went into me arriving in a situation like that. But there you are, that was the situation, and this game is pretty much an emulation of that. In terms of refining the game mechanics, I talk about the children. And one of the things that struck me from watching them and the games that they play is that the ones that they really love are very, very hard. So if you've ever attempted to play Hollow Knight or Silk Song or Enter the Gungeon, easy they are not. And what fascinates me about them is the amount of replaying that is often required in order to very, very gradually progress. In Hollow Knight and Silk Song especially, you've got these very, very big runbacks where you have to replay huge swathes of the game over and over and over again, or learn the very, very specific routines of boss battles. And I found that, a good number of the boys that were playing these didn't have any problem at all with just playing and playing and playing and going over and over and over. And okay, in Enter the Gungeon, the layouts change a little bit, but you are still basically doing the same thing over and over and over again. So difficulty, I realised, wasn't actually a problem and actually was a selling point. I think the fact that those games are so hard is part of their appeal. So I realised quite early on that it was okay for I'll Survive to be a harder game. And it is a tough game. When you first pick it up, when you first are dropped in to this situation, I think your reaction, and a typical reaction, would be, oh my word, what on earth is this? This is ridiculous. This is impossible. And it's only by persevering and adapting and strategizing that you get to a point where you realise, oh no, there is a way of doing this, and I've got it now. And the adrenaline still gets going. I think like any good hard game, you have to be on your toes. But it is a game that you can master if you're prepared to give it a bit of time and attention. One thing I would say about I'll Survive is it's definitely not dull. I have this theory that a lot of game developers are paranoid about making their games too easy, as if people will go, oh, it's dull, it's boring, it's a walking simulator, oh, this is too easy, I walk away, call this a game, where's the challenge? I think a lot of developers are paranoid about that. I don't think as many developers are paranoid about being too difficult. I don't think the creators of Elden Ring are losing sleep at night thinking, what have we made? What have we unleashed on the world? And for people who enjoy a tough challenge, as I said before, it's part of the selling point. It's part of the appeal. So yeah, I'll Survive is unashamedly a difficult game. But all the way through the process, we were very conscious not to make it too difficult. And again, I say that I wanted to make a game that the kids would enjoy. We ended up at the school being in a situation where I was able to build a complete QA or beta test team using pupils from across the school. And in the end, actually, I think there were about 20 or 30. You can read all their names on the credits. And they played through the iterations. And there were some boys in my boarding house who have been playing it since the very, very first build. And so it really was a case of adapting based on how they were responding to it, the bugs that they were reporting on, the feedback that they were giving. So the version that's going to launch in early access on the 28th of July on Steam and GOG and in the Epic Games Store, that version is a culmination of all the feedback that has come from the children through various iterations, and not just the 11 to 14 year olds, but it was right across the school up until the upper sixth, the 17, 18 year olds. So they have their fingerprints are all over this title, and not just in the iterative element, but there were a couple of pupils who actually wanted to more actively contribute to the game themselves. One pupil came up to me and said, I really want to make some artwork for you, sir. Is there anything you need? And it just so happened at that time that me and Jack were working on getting an Easter egg system working in the game. And so I said to this student, yeah, actually, I need some artwork for the Easter eggs. Would you like to make some? And sure enough, 2 days later, he brought me a couple of designs, which were excellent. And I said, perfect, thank you. They're going in. So when you play I'll Survive, there are 5 hidden Easter eggs for you to collect, 1 hidden in each shift. And something very special happens when you collect all 5. And I won't say any more about that, but please know that when you do find them, yeah, that was made by a pupil. And I'm very, very grateful. I think he's done a great job, and I'm excited that he's been able to get his work into a proper game. And the same was true for one of the sound effects. Actually, again, a pupil came to me and said, I want to make a sound effect for your game. What do you need? And there was one and only one sound effect that I was still missing. I could not settle on a sound for the clocking machine. And I explained to him kind of what I wanted. And he went away, and I think actually it was within an hour, he called me over and showed me what he'd got, and I sat with him and we tweaked it slightly, and I can't honestly remember the software that he used to create it. Maybe he can tell you if he ever appears at the BAFTAs or the Game Awards. Maybe you can interview him. But after a couple of tweaks, it was pretty much exactly what I wanted, and so again, that was able to go into the game, and just super chuffed to have been able to give them the opportunity to have that kind of creative input. I mean, yes, there is a benefit for me to be able to play test the game with a ready-made audience of willing people at my school, so I can't pretend it's an entirely selfless act. But I think what happens, I mean, certainly for me, working with children for as much time as I do, is I'm reminded of what it was like to be a child myself. And I know that if I'd been at school and one of my teachers had been making a video game and they'd come in and said, oh, hey, do you want to help me play test it and give me feedback and find bugs, I would have bitten their arm off for that if a teacher had said that to me. So I'm always thinking, but what could I possibly do to make school as fun and interesting and as exciting as I can for my pupils? And there was a huge response from people when I gave them the opportunity to help out with I'll Survive. So hopefully it's a mutual thing, that they've been able to benefit from being able to get involved in a professional production, and I've certainly benefited from the many, many, many ways that they have found to break the game and to feedback on it. What does the future hold for I'll Survive? Well, as I say, it's coming to early access on the 28th of July, and the hope from that is that we'll get some good actionable feedback, enabling us to tweak things and eliminate any remaining bugs that may still be in there. And also, the future things we'd like to do, build the epilogue level. There is a final level that's very, very different that has been in the original game design all this time that we haven't yet been able to work in. We'd like to finance that and get that created and get that into the finished product. We'd like to localize the game into other languages, French, Spanish, German, Chinese, you name it. We'd like to make it as accessible as we can to as many different players in different countries as possible. And we'd like to get it on other platforms like Xbox, PSN, Nintendo Switch. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'd love a Nintendo Switch version of this. And there's a cost attached to all of those. And the state we're at now, very happy with the early access game, but I don't have any more money to take it any further. So yeah, the hope from the early access period is to raise some funds and get some good actionable feedback from people. First and foremost, though, and this will sound cheesy, but I mean it sincerely, I just want people to enjoy it. I think any artist creates things first and foremost for themselves. So yes, there's a satisfaction for me in being able to finally play the game that's been in my heart for so long. Yeah, that is satisfying. But also, if somebody else enjoys it, or somebody else is inspired by it, or somebody else responds to it in a positive way and takes some kind of pleasure from it, genuinely, cheesy as it sounds, put that on an inspirational poster. It is cheesy, but no, that's a win for me also. Hey, even if it's only 5 people, okay, that's not going to help my bank balance, but I will still consider that mission accomplished. So do give it a go. I guarantee you will have never played a game quite like this before, and as I believe I said earlier in the video, you will not be dull. No, you will not be dull. You will not be bored when you're playing this game, because it is not dull. There we go. And hey, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments. Gosh, I've talked for a very long time. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for your ears. And hey, see you after the early access. Maybe see you at the BAFTAs. Here's hoping. Bye for now.